anyone that's providing caregiving, whether to an individual or to several individuals, organizations, for example. I want to say that the work of caregiving is enormously important. We've seen this morning with all the presentations. We need good information for sure, good training. There are some values in, in being empathic, also in communication clearly. But I will focus for my presentation the wellness part of dementia care, because we know there is absolutely no cure and no effective treatment for dementia at the moment, except for the care that every caregiver is able to give to someone living with memory loss or dementia. So that care is not only for physical comfort of the person living with dementia or their safety, it's also for their emotional and spiritual comfort. The role that you play as a caregiver in these areas, physical, emotional, and spiritual, and how we deliver this superior care is what I want to emphasize today. Secondly, it's even, or as important as the caregiver to survive the challenge of dementia care, is for them to have the proper training and the proper tools in their toolbox. And I think many presenters mentioned that. It's very, very important. So please excuse me if I repeat something you may have heard. It may be because it's that important. So first, I want to talk about the physical needs of the caregiver. And I know this has been mentioned. It's so important to take care of yourself, whether it's exercising in a program that you've established or you like, whether it's on right off your television, whether it's simply walking, taking a walk outside, which is something I prefer to do, and also eating properly, because we know food is a healer. So without proper food, then your own needs are not met as a caregiver. So there's also meditating. Meditating doesn't mean that you have to do yoga or exercise even. It may simply mean to listen to bird songs, to take a walk in the woods. That's all part of meditating. So it's fairly easy to adopt something that might fit your needs better than mine or anybody else. That's what you have to find. You want to do that, also establish that as a routine, because routines make everything easier, and you will stick with it. It's important to stick with an exercise program, also to eat regularly, things like that, and get your sleep. Very important. There are things to help you sleep. Find out what they are for you and adopt them. So that's my first part. My second part is to speak Alzheimer's. Unless as a caregiver, you don't learn to speak Alzheimer's, you will have difficulty serving that person or that population. Now, I was born in a French family, so I speak French. I had to learn English, and I also learned Latin and a little bit of Spanish, but very little. So I'm going to teach you right now how to speak Alzheimer's. It's fairly easy because most people think that when you get older, you can't learn the second language. But if it's your second language, let me tell you what it is. The first thing is, don't ask questions, because people living with dementia or memory loss really are using their right brain, not so much the left brain. And when we ask questions, it requires thinking. And we're simply reminding them that they have lost memory, that they can't find that special thing that we're asking. For example, if I ask somebody, what did you eat this morning for breakfast? And the person lives with dementia, I'm simply reminding that person that they have lost some memory. They may get frustrated, they may get angry, they may get sad that they can't remember. So if I say instead, are you hungry? It's a yes or no. Are you cold? That's a good question, but nothing to do with remembering past information. The second thing in learning how to speak Alzheimer's, and there's only 3 things, so it's not difficult to learn, is to learn that they are the expert. Now, I often hear people say, I'm an expert in dementia care coach or counselor or caregiver. I'm an expert. There's only one expert, and it's the person living with dementia. And they know their condition, and they know when it changes. They can feel it, or you can see some changes in them. So they truly are the expert, and we are following them. They're not following us. The third point is always agree with everything they say. So if they say this is winter, I remember my husband watching a television program. It was in the winter, but yet we were in the summer. And he said to me, go get the dog because it's snowing outside. I said, I will. And I went to get the dog. I didn't disagree with him, because disagreeing with him would have started something that I might have not wanted to see or hear. And it would have disturbed him as well as myself. The other thing is not to interrupt them. So there's two parts to this one. The third one is to agree with everything they say and also not to interrupt them while they're speaking, because interruptions means losing that phrase. So they may not finish their statement. So it's another form of aggravation, frustration, and maybe anger. So the 3 points again is don't ask questions, learn from them as their own expert, and always agree with everything, never interrupt them while they're speaking. So just remember also that their long-term memory is intact. So they may come up with some statements sometimes that make no sense to you, but a lot to them. Because memory loss is like taking a file cabinet, throwing it in the middle of a room, and then asking the person to find the invoice for the electrician in that mess, in that pile of newspaper. But it's still in there, except we don't know where it is exactly. And that's what happens with a person with dementia. So we say when we learn to speak Alzheimer's, those 3 things: don't ask questions, learn from them as their own expert. I'm not the expert. Always agree with everything they say, everything, and do not interrupt them while they're saying it. We call that the state of contented dementia. And it's based on a book called Contented Dementia. I highly recommend it. My final step for you today that I want to talk about is, I call it effective communications. When all of us, every one of us was born, we were born with 4 basic feelings: sad, glad, mad, and scared. Those feelings a baby will express, and you know that because when you observe a baby, you can see that. What happens as we get older is we forget to say, I'm sad, I'm scared of this, I don't know about that, I'm not sure I can succeed here. So when a person shows their feelings and they have memory loss or dementia, it's important to de-escalate those feelings and to reflect what they're feeling. So I know you're sad. I know you're mad. I remember a man who was pounding on the counter asking for his brother, but I was told his brother had died. I started pounding with him at the same rate, and I'm simply reflected this feeling. I said, you love your brother, don't you? Your brother loves you too, right? And he immediately stopped pounding. So to be validated for their feelings is extremely important. So remember that. Sad, glad, mad, and scared, we're all entitled to that, even the person with dementia, and especially them. Always ask for what you want, simply by saying, what I want is. The third thing is don't what you don't want to do. So if you're asked by your superior to do something that you don't want to do, you can say, this is really not possible for me. That's really clear communication. Very important when you're working within a family caregiving situation, but with others, and we heard that in one of the presenters, like you create a team. It could be that you have a superior because you work at an assisted living, or you work directly with a management team. You're the nurse director, and you're working directly with management. So clear communication is very, very important. I say it straight or you'll show it crooked. So it's important to say it straight. And how you say it straight is that you say how you feel, you ask for what you want, and you don't do what you don't want to do. I'm Ethelle Lord. Dr. Ethelle Lord from the International Caregivers Association, right here in California today, but I'm also in Maine, and I thank you for this time.